Hey guys, John here. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, we are going to talk about my top 10 amplifiers in my collection. As you can see, I have quite a large collection. I think I have like 60 amplifiers or so, a little bit above 60, I believe, but I haven't counted them recently. And you guys ask me a lot of times, like, what are your favorite amplifiers? And that's what I want to talk about today. I did a video kind of like this, I think a year ago or so, where I highlighted my top 5. And in this case, I just want to do a top 10 because I couldn't pick 5. I had to pick 10, okay? And those honestly are some really amazing amplifiers that I'd like to talk about today and show you guys. And the way that I'm going to go about it in this video is I'm going to just give you guys a tour of my entire collection and then highlight my favorites along the way, and also perhaps highlight some runner-ups and maybe some really good affordable options for you guys. So it should be fun. And by the way, if you want to support this channel, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and drop a comment in the comment section down below. You can also buy something at my affiliate links for Thomann, Sweetwater, or Tube Amp Doctor, or get one of my IR or capture packs in the description below or in my web store. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so where should we begin? Let's start on this side over here. And let's start all the way down here. This is, of course, the PV6505 1992 original. Really good amplifier that I like a lot. It's not one of my favorites per se, but it's a studio staple, if you know what I mean. It's a really good amplifier. And you guys all know how it sounds, right? I used to have an older 6505. This is one of the newer ones, so the 1992 original. And I think that this one sounds really good. Hell yeah. Of course, some pedals. I don't think I'm going to highlight all the pedals because there are too many pedals. And here we go. This is one of the amps that I bought, I think last year. This is the Diezel VH4. What a cool amplifier. This thing is so good. And this is, in fact, one of my favorites. I recently did a video on this amplifier, a one song, one amp episode, and I thought that this amplifier sounded so cool, but also so unique. Like, there's nothing in this entire collection that sounds like the Diezel VH4. It's so unique and so interesting, and I could talk about this amplifier for hours, which I won't do. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites. It's in the top 10. Because it's just, again, so unique and it sounds so good. If you want to know what I'm talking about in terms of the uniqueness and the awesomeness, check out that recent video that I did. Now, I forgot to mention this, guys, but the order of this is totally random. And it's not like there's going to be a number 1 and a number 10, so they all have basically a shared first position, if you know what I mean, okay? Please bear with me. All right, let's move up. This is the Lichtlerm Audio Prometheus. Definitely one of my favorites. So this is definitely in the top 10. This was built for me, and I chose the design together with Daniel from Lichtlerm Audio. You may have seen it in videos on the channel before. It's just a really good amplifier. You know, it has some great features and it sounds totally awesome. And I call it Red Velvet because of the sort of red wood, the stained wood, and the white Tolex. Just totally awesome. You know, you can shape the tone with the cut control, which is a really cool feature to make the sound more tight. And it has power and oomph and, you know, the preamp defeat function and all that good stuff. So this definitely, again, is in my top 10. And back there, hidden behind those pedals, we have the Orange Dark Terror. Fun little amplifier for sure, but not really top 10 material for me. Now, let's go up. And over here we have the Bad Cat Lynx, which is a very interesting amplifier. Not really top 10 material for me, but it's a very unique and very good sounding amplifier. It's one of those amps, again, that doesn't sound like anything else that I have, and that's why I like it so much. And I'm going to feature this in a one song episode soon, so stay tuned for that. But I've already done a full in-depth review of this amplifier on the channel as well, which you can check out if you're interested. But yeah, really cool amplifier nonetheless. And then over here we have my 20-watt Marshalls. So this is the Silver Jubilee. I think this is like a limited edition. And then the JCM 800, the Mini Plexi or SV20H Studio Vintage, and then of course the DSL 20, which is cool. Again, not really top 10 material, but fun amplifiers nonetheless. I sold my big Marshalls But these are like the ones that I still have left, and they are quite nice. I hope to try the JCM 900 one day. That would be great. All right, let's move on to the next piles. This is the Peavey Invective MH, really cool little amplifier. And then the 6505 MH. Both are a lot of fun. I can really recommend them if you're kind of on a budget and you're looking for something with a low wattage that just sounds great to play through at lower levels and stuff. Really fun little amplifiers. Not really top 10 material for me, but you know, great budget options, especially the 6505. I think that's a bit more affordable than the Invective. But the Invective has some cool features like a boost and a gate and stuff. So, you know, those should not be underestimated. Great little amplifiers for sure. And then we have the hand-wired Wongs. This is the 2204 hand-wired and the 1987 hand-wired. So basically an 800 and a Plexi. Really interesting amps. Quite affordable. Made in China by the Wongs family. Hand-wired, so high quality. They get loud, so they really, you know, sound like classic Marshall amps, basically. Not top 10 material for me per se, because I'm just more of a high gain guy in general, but really good amplifiers for sure. All right, let's go down here. This is the Jake Ely, the Friedman, and it's definitely covered up by pedals. Which is a shame because it's a beautiful amplifier. So let me do something about that. Yeah, the Jake Ely 50 by Friedman. That is a cool amplifier. It's like a Plexi and JCM 800 in one, but with a more, let's say, refined Friedman sound and some cool features like bright switches. And then for the gain 2 channel, you have that pull option to add a little bit more gain. It's a classic sounding amp, so it's not really a high gain amplifier, but with a pedal up front, it sounds really good for hard rock and metal. I can't recommend this amplifier enough if you're looking for something that does like, you know, a Plexi or JCM 800 tone in one. And it looks so cool in red. Really cool amplifier. Not exactly top 10 material, but I love this amp nonetheless. Back there, hidden behind some pedals, I feel so bad about that, but I have to put these pedals somewhere, is the Victory Kraken Mark II. Really good amplifier. In my opinion, definitely superior to the old one because of the presence control. And this is kind of like a hot-rodded 5150. If you ask me, it's a bit more tight, or it's quite a bit more tight than your average Peavey 5150 or 6505. It's even more tight than an EVH 5150, if you ask me. But it sounds really good. And the clean channel is very nice, and the crunch channel is good too. And the high gain tone is just, yeah, like I said, really articulate and ferocious. And this is a 50-watt amp, so it can get quite loud as well. And as you can see, it's quite compact. It's kind of like a tiny Terror, you know? So really, really good amplifier that I recommend. Not really top 10, but really good nonetheless. Alrighty, let's move down to the Joker, the Red 7 Amplification Leviathan Joker Edition. Man, if you know this channel, you know this amplifier. You've probably seen it on my channel. This was, again, built for me and really, you know, customized to make it look really cool and unique. You can't see it here, but it has like a Joker graphic on there. Really awesome. I'm a comic book nerd and I love the Joker, so they made that for me, and this is definitely one of my most prized possessions in terms of my gear, because it was just, you know, custom made for me by the really good folks from Red 7 Amplification. And it also just sounds really good. I mean, you've got 2 channels. We don't really have a clean channel. It's more like a hot-rodded British tone, if you know what I mean. And then we have this channel over here, the lead channel, I guess. And yeah, it's just a high gain tone that is to die for. Very tight and articulate, but at the same time still organic. So sometimes with super tight amps, the sound gets a little bit sterile, but not with this amplifier. It sounds so good, and I love it so much. So this is in my top 10 for sure. And then we go down to the Lulis, the Tube Workshop Lulis. This also is a really good amplifier. Tube Workshop really did a great job with this. This is the Uwe Lullis signature. He is the guitarist for Accept. And this is basically a hot-rodded JCM 800 with a built-in OD1, Boss OD1 circuit. And you can also switch between JCM and JTM. And we have a bright and a deep switch as well, which is cool. And this thing is so cool. It sounds so wild. And I basically sold my big Marshall heads for this one because this one just did that job so well. And, you know, now that I also have the Jake E. Lee, I don't really need a real big Marshall amp anymore because this is just a bit more fun to me, if you know what I mean. But yeah, great amplifier. I did a full in-depth review on this amplifier on the channel recently, which you can check out if you're interested. I think you'll have a great time with that video. I love this amplifier a lot. So yeah, recommend checking that out. And over here we have a little amp as well. This is the Hughes & Kettner Stompman. This is like a very small little clean amp with a built-in power amp. It's a fun little amplifier. Definitely not top 10 material or anything like that, but it is a full-fledged amp, so I thought I should mention that as well. Over here we have my Mesa Boogie dual rectifier, 3-channel, early 2000s. What can I say? I love rectifiers, even though they are a little bit unwieldy in terms of volume and in terms of the tone and in terms of maintenance and all that stuff. But yeah, this is my dual rectifier. Haven't used it in a while, but it's a cool amp. I have some alternatives these days that can kind of do the same thing. So that's why this isn't getting a lot of use, I guess. It's not in my top 10, but it's a cool amplifier. And you know, everybody needs some form of rectifier in their collection, right? Cool, let's move to this side. Over here we have my ENGL Fireball 100. Man, this is a workhorse. I definitely call this my workhorse. This is the first ENGL that I ever bought. The Fireball 100 is so good, guys. The lead channel is to die for, and the cleans are very nice as well. You can also get some sort of vintage crunch tones with the clean channel by maxing the gain and with the mid boost. This is not in my top 10 because one of my other ENGL amps is, but this is like a great amp to get if you want an ENGL amp but don't want to spend too much, depending on where you live. It's loud, it sounds amazing, but it has a shared EQ and stuff, so it's more an amp for, you know, either studio use or if you're not going to use a wide variety of tones, basically. But yeah, I love this amplifier so much, and I'm never going to get rid of this. Moving up to one of my other recent acquisitions, this is the Friedman BE100 Deluxe. Wow, what an amplifier. This is in my top 10 for sure. You know, as far as I'm concerned, this is the best Friedman amp ever made by Dave. It does it all. 3 channels, you know, you got the plexi channel or clean channel, and then we have either the BE or the HBE drive channel. We have all the switches on the back as well, the SAT switch and the C45 switch, and you can fine tune the frequencies of the thump and the presence, and it just sounds so good. I also did an in-depth review on this not too long ago, which I absolutely recommend checking out if you're interested in this amplifier or just want to hear how it sounds. So yeah, definitely top 10 material. Absolutely wonderful. And then over here we have, you know, the IRX, which is also excellent in its own right. Really fun little amplifier. They got some updates recently, so I should check that out. Moving up to the ENGL Special Edition Founders Edition. Yeah, also a top 10 amplifier for me. This is probably the greatest ENGL amplifier ever made. It sounds so good. It's so refined. You know, they really fine-tuned everything about this amp, and you just, you know, open up a channel and boom, you're done. It sounds so good. And we have all these switches here to fine-tune the tone for reverb, for noise gates. And it might look a little bit daunting, but you know, it's not unwieldy in terms of dialing it in at all. And there's even a channel on the back, the tube driver channel, which is a cool option to have as like a pedal platform. Anyway, this thing is amazing. This is the 100 watt 6L6 version that I will probably take to my grave. I love it so much. So yeah, definitely top 10 or definitely top 5 material, actually. And then over here, We have these Baroni amps. These are like solid state floor amps. Oh, well, there's a tube, but I think the power amp is solid state. Really cool little amplifiers that I should definitely show you guys because they are a part of the collection. Yeah, this is the Javal. It's like the high gain one. I did a video on these, so if you're interested, definitely check it out. Then, of course, the Fryette Power Station, which is awesome as well. Reviewed that recently as well. Really cool. Nice. And then over here, we have the Syn 20 IR. Yeah, and this is also in my top 10 list. Man, Synergy is so cool. And yeah, especially this small version. I mean, you have a clean channel and you can load in any module that you want. And then you have like a wonderful sounding 3-channel amplifier with a bunch of cool features like the reactance and structures and IRs. And the fact that you can do anything that you want, you know, make it sound like a rectifier, make it sound like a Mark II C+ or a Diesel, etc. Love this amp so much. I did a bunch of videos on this already on the channel that you can check out. And yeah, again, it's in my top 10 for sure. And then over here, the Orange Gain Baby, which is really cool. Solid state, 2 channels. Sounds really good. Definitely recommend checking out my review that I also did recently. Not really top 10 material, but I like it a lot. And check this out, the Purple Beast. Man, this is, of course, the Soldano SLO100R. So the rack mountable version of the SLO100. Really happy with this thing. I think it sounds so good. And, you know, this is special. This is a special one for me because this is like a dream amp, you know. Now, this is not really in my top 10 because another Soldano is in my top 10. If that other one wasn't in my top 10, this surely would have been in my top 10. But I don't want to have multiple amps from the same brand in my top 10 list. But yeah, this thing is amazing. Do I need to say more? I mean, look at this thing. And it sounds magnificent. It sounds huge. And this is also one that I'll probably take to my grave because it's so special. And over here we have 2 Wong's amps again, alongside those other ones. These are basically the SLO clones. So this is the HD30H 30 watt amp, and this is the 15 watt version. A really fun amplifier as well. They sound pretty good. They don't sound as good, in my opinion, as the real Soldanos, but they're fun, like affordable options if you can't afford, you know, a real one. Another alternative would be to just get a Synergy and then grab the SLO module. That would be a great way to, you know, support Soldano themselves in a way. So that's also a good alternative. But these are fun. These are definitely fun, but you'd have to import them from China and stuff. But again, made by the Wong's family in their own custom shop. And they look cool too, if you ask me. And then up here, my 5150 350 watt EL34. I've had this one probably the longest from any amp in this collection. Not really top 10 material for me, but it does that EVH thing. You all know it. Tight and ferocious. The clean is okay. You know, the crunch channel is very interesting, very fat. But the red channel is my favorite channel. And what do I need to say? I mean, it just works for that tone. The Boogie Mark V 35. Well, that's an interesting amp. I can't always get it to sound good because it's just really finicky in terms of how the EQ responds and all that stuff. I've gotten better Mark tones out of the Synergy platform, but it's a fun amp. I'm not sure how long I'm gonna hold on to this amplifier though. It's good, but as I said, it's just a little bit, you know, you have to really tweak it to make it sound good, and yeah, that's that. The orange Brent Hinds Terror. So this is kind of a collector's item, I guess. This is the signature model for Brent Hinds, who used to play in Mastodon, which is weird to say, but it's what it is. It's a cool little amplifier, kind of like a hot-rodded Marshall-y tone. Not too high gain. It sounds quite wild, actually, with a good clean channel. Fun little amplifier for sure. And then we're moving on to my Driftwood Mini Nightmare, which was also custom built for me by the really cool folks at Driftwood. This is in my top 10 because I love this thing so much. I also did a full in-depth review on this amplifier on the channel recently, which I really recommend checking out because I think you'll really enjoy this amp. good clean channel, but the overdrive tones are just wonderful. And there's a built-in boost as well. So it's basically like a built-in tube screamer to tighten up the tone. And think of this amplifier like a blend between a rectifier and a 5150. So it sits in the mix really nicely and sounds nice and aggressive. And yeah, this is the smaller version. I also have a Purple Nightmare, which you'll see in a minute. But this is like the 50 watt 6L6 version, and I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. So there's that, in my top 10 for sure. And then we have my Mesa Boogie single rectifier. Not in my top 10, but this is my favorite rectifier that I have. It sounds much more focused and tight than my 3-channel one. So usually when I need a rectifier tone, this is the one that I grab. I mean, if I want a Mesa Boogie rectifier tone, because right now, I think my favorite rectifier tone would be the Direct Synergy module, but this one sounds really good as well. And of course, they don't make these anymore. This is the Series 1. Sometimes you can find these in the used market for a good price though, so it's good to keep in mind. All right, moving on to the Engel Savage 120. Also a beast of an amp. Not in my top 10 because the SEFE Special Edition Founders Edition takes that place. But this is also an excellent amplifier. A really interesting amplifier too. It's 120 watts, but it only has 2 power tubes, so 2 6550s. And the clean channel is great. Crunch 1 I think is really good, and the lead channel is great as well, but I think Crunch 2 is a little bit odd. So for me, I just treat it like a 3-channel amplifier, which is more than enough anyway. But especially the lead channel is well known for just sounding really good with metal. Love this thing so much. And then down here we have my Blue Guitar amps. So this is the Mercury edition, more like the vintage tones. And then here is the Iridium edition, which is really good as well. We're still waiting for the Amp X, obviously. Not top 10 material for me, but really fun nonetheless. And over here, behind these pedals, we have my Rev Generator 120 Mark III Revision B, which is in my top 10 for sure. It's another amp that was custom built for me. I requested the pink Tolex because I think it looks so good and it really pops. You know, when you see my collection, you can really see that amplifier right away because of its color, right? I call it the Barbie because of the colors. And it sounds so good. It's in my top 10, not only because it was custom built for me and because it's pink, but also because it sounds really good. It sits in the mix so well, especially the lead channels are really good. So the the purple and the red channels, basically. And I love the switches, you know, the bright cut and fat switches, and there's a noise gate and reverb, and yeah, can't recommend looking at Rev amplifiers enough. Made in Canada and stuff, really high quality, really awesome stuff. So this is in my top 10 for sure, no doubt. Alrighty, let's move on. And let's check out the Driftwood Purple Nightmare. This is not in my top 10 because of the fact that I already put the Mini Nightmare in the top 10, but otherwise this would have been in the top 10. This is the big brother. So this is the, I guess 100 watt, maybe 120, not sure. But it's basically the same as the Mini Nightmare, but it's bigger and it has more power. And obviously it looks different as well. What also sets it apart from the small one is the night mode that it has on the back, which is a cool feature if you want to use this thing at very low volumes and stuff. But yeah, again, really recommend checking out Driftwood amps because they make some amazing stuff. And then over here, my Orange Rockaverb 50 Mark III. Now, it's not in the top 10, but this definitely would be a runner-up. For a time, this was my favorite amplifier. I just love the lead channel so much. And the clean channel is beautiful as well. And, you know, this is probably the coolest orange amplifier ever made, in my humble opinion. I really think they did a great job with this, and it's like the orange amplifier to get for high gain, in my opinion anyway. So yeah, I love this thing a lot, even though it's not in the top 10 right now. All right. Then we have the Jimru Terror, also discontinued, just as the Brent Heinz Terror. This is like a mini Rockaverb, the dirty channel. Really fun little amplifier. If you can get one of these in the used market, you can get a tone that's very similar to the big boy, but for less money. I think I got mine for like 400 euros or so a couple of years ago. Well, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. Really fun little amp. And then down here we have the Soldano Astro 20. Sorry if it's a little bit dark. This is a really cool amp. If you want a Soldano, a real Soldano, you know, and on a little bit of a budget, this one is impossible to beat. The clean channel is amazing, and you can choose the galaxies, so you can choose the amount of gain that each drive channel has. You can use it without a cabinet and use it with IRs. Such a good amplifier that I really, really love. So I highly recommend this one if you're looking for a Soldano that is not too expensive. Of course, it's only 20 watts, but man, does it sound good. And it's pretty loud as well, so don't let the wattage fool you. Over here we have the Orange Dual Terror. Basically, 2 tiny terrors in one, but one is voiced a little bit differently with the fat channel. This thing is so cool. This is great for classic rock or like stoner and doom. Highly recommend this one. You know, they've discontinued the Tiny Terror, but they make this one still. And it has more power than the Tiny Terror, and it's a little bit bigger too. But yeah, this thing is cool. I should use it more often, actually. Not really top 10 material, but really like it nonetheless. This is the Usen-Kettner Ampman Modern, another solid state amplifier for the pedal board, and it sounds pretty good. It's not the best sounding amp in the world, but you can definitely have some fun with this, put it on your pedal board and send it straight to a cabinet. I don't remember how much power it has though, but it does have a clean channel, a boost option and all that stuff, and the sag control, so you can get some great tones out of this for sure. And then the PRS MT15, really fun amp. What can I say? We all know this amplifier, right? It's not in my top 10, but this is another great budget option. I think they cost around 500 or 600 euros or so, and for that you get quite a lot of power. 2 6L6s. I think they put 5881s or something in them now, but the clean channel is good. It's very clean, and the lead channel is really good. It doesn't really do classic crunch well, in my opinion. So it's like either clean or modern, but it does that really well. So a great budget option. And then over here we have this little guy, the Engel Fireball 25. A really good amplifier. Sounds very similar to the big one, but obviously a little bit less headroom. This one has the 6L6 tubes, 2 channels, clean is beautiful, high gain is great. Yeah, I can say similar things to the 100. I love the 100 a little bit more, but this is another great option if you're on somewhat of a budget. It's not super affordable or super cheap, depending on where you live, but it's so worth the money. Really recommend it. And then the Orange OR15, another fun little orange amplifier. Sounds quite similar to the Jimru Terror, so plenty of gain on tap, so it can go from clean to high gain. It's just 15 watts, so not super headroomy, but great amp for at home or for practice or recording. Not top 10 material, but really fun and great nonetheless. And then we have these little Micro Terrors. Fun. I don't think they sound great, to be honest, but they're just fun little amplifiers to have and play around with. Then we have the Invaders 950 Badass, which is a really cool amp. It's kind of a different take on an SLO circuit, I think. Has some cool switches like the notch, sweep, and balls switches above the EQ there. And then each channel also has its own voicing switches. And it's loud. It's loud and unwieldy in a way, but it sounds really good, really raw. Of course, I also did a full in-depth review on this amplifier on the channel. Made in Belgium, made by hand, so really high quality stuff. Really recommend it. Not really in my top 10, but a really great amplifier nonetheless. And then up top here we have 2 Usen-Kettner amps. The Black Spirit 200 up there, which is their solid state flagship. Has the same DNA as those floor amps that I showed you guys. And then the Tube Meister Deluxe 40. I used to have the Grandmeister as well, but I actually prefer the sound of the Tube Meister. I think that each channel sounds really good. So clean, crunch, and lead. And yeah, just an excellent sound that I definitely recommend if you're looking for something small with a lot of power. Really cool. Not top 10 material for both, but really good nonetheless. Again, I'm repeating myself here, but I don't really like to keep amps that I don't enjoy, right? And then over here, my only Blackstar amplifiers currently. This is the HT Club 50 Mark III, and this is the HT Stage 100 Mark III. Pretty good amps. I mean, not top 10 material for me, but very versatile, like great clean tones and great overdrive tones as well, and some cool features. Built-in reverb, voices for the channels so that you get multiple options. And then I think like built-in IR stuff as well on the back. So feature packed and on the affordable side for sure. So I can also recommend these if you want like something good, something general rock with a good clean channel, a good overdrive channel that isn't too expensive. So cool stuff for sure. I hope to try some of their more expensive amplifiers one day. And then the Tiny Terror, a Studio Classic. What can I say? Everybody needs a Tiny Terror. Just love this thing. It sounds so good. They don't make them anymore, as I mentioned. They haven't made them for quite a while, but you can still find them for a couple $100. Yeah, small, sounds really good. Highly recommend them. And this is my 5150 15 watt LBX. This is the volume, the version 1. Sounds nice and crunchy, sounds pretty good. I mean, I even compared it to the big one and it held up really well. So yeah, I actually really like this thing. It's not as thumpy in the lows as the bigger ones, but definitely a fun little amplifier. Not top 10 material, but definitely good. And then down here, we have these two Engel amplifiers, the Iron Ball and the Steve Morse Signature 20, both excellent amps. And both 20 watts, obviously, so not super loud, but definitely compact and feature-packed, like built-in reverb, built-in delay, master volume boost. You can store presets with MIDI and stuff. Really, really great. And they sound really good. Like the Iron Ball is more like the metal amp, if you ask me. So more crunchy and tight. And then the Steve Morse is great for leads. So imagine having both of these on your cabinets and switching between them for certain tones. That's quite a powerful rig that you would have there. And of course, I reviewed them both on the channel, so check out those videos. And then over here, we have the Zoota stuff. Now, the top one is the LA25 Mark II, really good amplifier. I did a full in-depth review on that amplifier on the channel recently. I think it sounds really good. I think you guys will really love it too. This is a bit more affordable than the GBG 120, which we have down here. Now the GBG 120 is really special for me. It's just a great high gain amplifier with a lot of options. As you can see, it looks kind of like a spaceship, but it sounds so good and it has some amazing features. Like you can choose different power tube types. It has a bunch of voicing options, a really good noise gate. So this is in my top 10 for sure. I love this thing so much. I've done a bunch of videos with it already that I really recommend checking out. Yeah, the Zoota GBG 120. This is in my top 5. I'm not afraid to say that. It's really excellent. And then down here, we have the Rocker 15 Terror, which is a fun little amp. Kind of similar to the Brent Hinds Terror, but not as wild. It's not modded in the same way that the Brent Hinds is. So this is a bit more smooth and a bit more typical orange sounding, but a really fun little lunchbox amplifier. The clean channel is a great pedal platform as well. So also great budget options if you love that orange sound. And then down here we have my mini rectifier. Fun little amplifier. You know, it sounds a bit more tight and compact than the bigger rectifiers. Right now, again, I would go for the Synergy if I wanted something in a tone like that, but it's still a fun little amplifier to have. And it's, yeah, it's just cool. It does that Mesa rectifier thing, but in a bit more of a tight and controlled manner, I guess. And then the Soldano that I do have in my top 10, my SLO 30 that I got for my birthday last year. Man, as I said, I also love the 100R, but this one, yeah, it's just special for some reason. It feels like it has a little bit more, let's say, squish when you play it. So it feels very organic and it sounds massive and it's kind of cute. It's not too big, but it has so much power. 30 watts, 2 6L6s. It does that Soldano thing, period. I think the big one sounds more, solid, I guess, in the mids, really chunky and stuff. And this one just always sounds as if it's a little bit louder or something. It's hard to explain, but really, really good amplifier. Can't stress that enough. Love this thing so much. So this is in my top 10 for sure. In my top 5, definitely. Then the PRS Archon 50, cool amp, cool clean channel, cool overdrive channel. Not top 10 material for me, but fun amp nonetheless. I guess you can get these in the used market for a good price if you're looking for something that does a little bit more than the MT15. So yeah, cool amp. This is the Victory Kraken V4 floor amp. I think the newer versions have a better power amp simulation or something, but this is a cool amp. It has tubes in it, and the power amp is solid state, so it's kind of like a hybrid. I think the newer ones should be a bit more superior, but this is a really cool one nonetheless as well. Not in my top 10, but a fun amp. I do prefer the normal Kraken for sure. And then the PV6505-2, which is also the newer version of the 6505-2. What was it called? Plus. Yeah, it used to be called the Plus. And this is like the updated version to make it sound as close as possible to the original ones. I prefer the 1992 original a little bit. This is a bit more tight and focused sounding, and it has more controls. So especially for live, this can be a little bit more useful. Again, not really top 10 material, but a really cool amp for that 5150 sound, but a little bit more tweaked, so a little bit more tight. And then down there we have my Engel Powerball 2, an amp that I love a lot as well. It's similar to the Fireball, but it has more options. It's a bit dark, so I don't know if you can see all the switches, but it's a 4-channel amplifier, and it's a bit more affordable than, say, the Special Edition, Founders Edition, and the Savage. So I really recommend this amp. If you're in Europe, they are quite affordable, especially in the used market. In the United States, that's going to be different, but really good amplifiers for sure. Not as good as my SE-FE, that's why it's not in my top 10, but really good nonetheless. So I think that covers it. I think I have forgotten, oh, here we are. One more amplifier that I haven't showed you guys. This is the Friedman IRD, which is also one of those really cool floor amps with tubes in it by Friedman with IR loading and stuff. I forgot that one. So yeah, that's my collection, guys. And those were my, I think, top 10 favorites and some alternative budget options. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. My throat is sore from all the talking, so I'm gonna drink some water. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think of my favorites? What do you think of my collection? Let me know. And again, please hit the like and subscribe buttons as well, as that really helps the channel out. I'd really appreciate it. And if you want to support the channel in another way, buy something in my affiliate links for Thomann, Sweetwater, or Tube Amp Doctor. That really helps out the channel a lot. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers.